Thanks for being super Gumby.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, some people get all flustered and everything. And I'm like, hey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
We'll figure it out. It'll be all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Adapt and overcome. All right, here we
That's how
go.
we live our life, right?
All right, it's Friday night and we are worldwide. We are live. I'm rocking the Bonefish Warrior 1776 shirt, but I'm with fellow Marine Corps veteran Jason Steiner of HeroStock. Now, Jason, all he could say was hero and stock, and I'm like, I am there. So, and then I'm talking to Mike Peterson from the People's Patriot Project. He's like, yeah, we're going to be down there this weekend. And you got to understand, I've been kind of like really messed up the last couple of years with a leg injury, so I can't really get into the flow of things. But I'm
Sure.
jealous. I am mad at jelly, Jason, that I'm not at Hero Stock this weekend.
It's
So, all right, it's this weekend, right? It's coming up
yep.
like in
Not
like
not
36
this
hours.
weekend. Next weekend.
Yes, okay.
Next weekend.
I'm so
Yep.
excited. I'm thinking like it's next weekend. And I got Elsa and Jeremy checking in. So, hey, folks, special live Friday night with Oscar Mike Radio and Jason Steiner, Marine Corps veteran from Hero Stock. Jason, we got like 20, 30 minutes. Take it away and tell me what Hero Stock is all about because I'm mad excited.
Hero Stock is, it started out to be a night for just veterans to hang out. That was the original plan with it. As we were going through the event last year, which was super quick thrown together, we had 45 days from the day of the idea to the day of the event. Um, we saw a need for veteran nonprofits to be highlighted. We had nonprofits there last year that I'd never heard of, and I'd been in the nonprofit world at this point like 3.5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um, so it was like, okay, well, here's a microphone, give an elevator speech of who you are and what you do. And we actually had people join these nonprofits because of Vetstock was the original name.
Okay.
We got our 501c3 in May, and we had to change the name to HeroStock because there was already a Vetstock out on the East Coast. So we were like, well, shit, okay. But we ended up, as we were talking, we were like, let's include our first responders. They see trauma and everything else day in and day out. Let's include them. And somebody else was like, well, let's include the Gold Star families. They gave the ultimate sacrifice of a brother, a mother, a sister, a daughter, whatever it is, to be able to keep us free and lay our heads on the pillow at night without that wolf knocking at the door. And so we were like, okay, so we're going to include all of our nation's heroes. How about Hero Stock? And so we jumped in with Hero Stock. And that's how the name was brought up and born. And um, it's grown immensely. We had 100 people last year that showed up on short notice. We had about 12 different nonprofits there. We had like 4 vendors. This year we've got 4 bands. We've got 2 food trucks. We've got 49 vendors now. Um, it's a cornhole tournament that's free to enter. The top prize is like $700 or $800 and total, and it's free to enter. Everything is free. This whole event is free outside of your food and your booze. So it's a night to honor our nation's heroes. But on the flip side of that, it's a huge networking night. It's a huge night to be able to meet and greet with other veterans, other first responders, Gold Star families. It's a night to see these veteran nonprofits that are now starting to open their arms and saying, you know what, just because you're police or fire or corrections doesn't mean you're not our brother and sister. Let's go. Jump into our ruck marches, jump into our hikes, come fishing and hunt with us. Um, so it's been really cool to see these nonprofits changing their direction from just veterans to our nation's heroes, and including all of them into what they do. So,
We got Sergeant Major Smallwood from Georgia checking in. Sergeant Major, how you doing? He's a Army Sergeant Major, Jason, but he
right
is
on.
freaking, right on is right. Thank you, Sergeant Major, for checking in. It's kind of there's veterans events out there, right? But to me, looking at Hero Stock, I'm like, well, we had Woodstock and Lollapalooza and all this. Why not do like a stock for us. And
Right.
it was really cool that you did include first responders off the bat, because we all serve in that capacity, man. We all put our lives on the line. They do too, and sometimes more than we do, because
Right.
they're on it every day. So, I mean, you've had an amazing response to this event. Can you tell people like how to get involved and get plugged in, because there's still time to join the fun?
Yeah, definitely. You can check out our webpage, www.herostock.org. Our Facebook page is HeroStock. The event page is HeroStock 2023. Our Twitter and Instagram and TikTok is HeroStock_. We haven't done a whole lot with those three yet because I'm old and I'm not sure how to run all that stuff.
You figure that out, you let me know.
Right. But yeah, and we've had just great response. Like, we have 16 different states coming in to see what we're doing. We've got 15 different podcasts coming in. We've got, I think, 4 or 5 now that are going live for the event, doing full live streams. We've got a drone pilot coming in. We've got a ruck march that's going to happen. We've got a motorcycle ride that's going to happen. The Irreverent Warrior Silky hike's going to happen that day, and then they land back at HeroStock. And so we've just had a ton of people jump on with us, and they're like, man, we love what you're doing, and we want to be a piece of this some way, somehow. And
So,
go ahead.
yeah, so I mean, that's what I want to ask you. I mean, you're it's kind of like you're a hub, and you've got the ruck, you've got the ride, and you've got IW joining you. All this in like a year's time, man. I mean, how did that happen that quickly? Because, and here's the other thing: getting us veterans to play in the same sandbox together sometimes is, hey, that's my toy. You're not
Right.
having my toy. How did you get these people all to be like, we're in?
Honestly, we told them what we were doing, and they loved the idea so much that they wanted to jump into it. And one of the things that I always preach is, we're all in that same sandbox. We're all fighting that same battle, right? We're trying to stop that number that continues to go up year after year. And it's much easier to work together as a group to combat that number than to try to do it by yourself. And there's not one single piece out there that is the do all say all. There's not one organization that's going to end veteran suicide.
Right.
And, and our first responders. But the thing is, with this, now you've made these connections of, I know somebody that they jump out of airplanes with veterans. I've got a group that does hunting and fishing. I've got a group that does motorcycles. I got a group that does ruck marches. So now we can direct people to these nonprofits that we've vetted, because I'm not letting anybody in. You have to be a solid, tried and true nonprofit to be able to be a part of this, because I'm not going to be the guy that tells you to go to this group, and then we find out that group's crooked and causes more issues. So that's our big thing, is the networking side of it, and be able to have all these different outlets to direct people to, and to let them see what all's out there. Because there's like 49,000 veteran nonprofits out there. And are they all good? Not all of them, but we've got some really great ones.
So Sergeant Major Smallwood says we must work together as one, because no one other than us understands what each one of us is going through. That's true. And
100%.
there's a thing about nonprofits, because I'm in the Northeast and there's a lot of them up here. And one of the things I got to tell you honestly, Jason, I'm getting told is some people are getting fatigued. There's
Yeah.
always some new veteran nonprofit popping up that's going to save the day, and they're asking for the same dollar the same way. And some people are saying, like, wait a minute, when are we going to start seeing some progress here, instead of just creating more nonprofits?
Right.
So how do you get around that as somebody like yourself, or somebody wanting to be aligned with what you're all doing?
We're actually working together with a lot of groups. So next year we've already started planning an event down in Rolla, Missouri, and we're working with Operation Encore. We've been reached out to by Soldier Songs and Voices. We're probably going to pair with them for one of the events next year. We're trying to get everybody to understand that we're all working together. And I talked to a guy today that they're talking about building a small village for veterans. Well, I just talked to a guy a month ago that his son was one of the 13 in Afghanistan, the pullout. And that's their plan, is to build a small village in every single state in the United States. And I'm like, okay, if you guys are doing the exact same thing, work together, help each other out, you know, and instead of both of you chasing that dollar, you work as a team, and here you go. Now you can build them that much faster. And
was one of them Mighty Hero Homes by any chance?
no.
Okay.
See, and that's another group, right? I mean, it's crazy when you start looking at the veteran nonprofit world and how many different hunting groups there are. Like, I
What?
can think of like 8 or 10 right off the top of my head, you know, but they won't work together, or they don't know each other, you know. And
I resonate, because I'm like, guys, I mean, you do bow hunting, you guys do, duck hunting. There's synergy there if you look for it. Screw it,
right.
I'm not going to do it. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm like, there's only so many resources to go around, and
Yep.
the need is out there. I mean, same thing with fishing. I mean, in this part of the country, you wouldn't believe how many fishing veteran nonprofits there are.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I'm doing my thing and they're doing your thing. But this is the thing I like about HeroStock. You're like, you know what? We are all together. Get vetted and then come in and let's do this thing. And
Yep.
I'm jealous, Jason. I'm jealous that I'm not there.
Man, it's going to be an amazing night. Like, we have Scotty Hastings coming in as one of our performers. Taylor with Guitars for Vets out of Omaha. You know, they've got a national chapter, but she's the leader of the Omaha chapter. Her and her group's coming in to sing for us. We got 2 local bands or Nebraska bands that are huge veteran supporters. They're coming into play. The cornhole tournament, we've got a silent auction. We've got, like, I think there's 5 or 6 different gun raffles going on that day out at HeroStock. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, we have our own personal gun raffle, and I've had multiple people go, well, we've got a gun raffle going. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, I want you guys to make money too, because your organization needs money to run as well as ours does. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you, no, you can't sell gun raffles, because that's what we're doing. I'd be a little bit hypocritical if I did that. So, it's there's just so much going on, and we do have some veteran for-profits coming in. It's not just nonprofits, so we get to actually highlight some of the veteran-owned businesses too that are coming into the event to kind of show off what they do.
Man, there are some amazing. I've talked to some amazing veteran-owned businesses. Some people who, during COVID, before COVID, fought and ground the last 2 years to survive, and they are a wealth of information. And you know what? We should support our own, Jason. We
Right.
should support our own. I really like this idea. One thing I'm just curious about is a lot of people think about veterans. They think Florida, they think Texas, and they think California.
Yep.
Those are the 3 big places when they think about veterans and veterans nonprofits. And I'm like, it's all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of stuff up here in the Northeast, but tell me about veterans in Nebraska, central part of the United States.
We have some amazing nonprofits here. Wheels for Warriors USA, they give away motorcycles to veterans. And it's not just giving them a motorcycle, it gives them a mentorship program that goes with it. So they're paired with an actual group that rides motorcycles, the CVMA, some of the legions, that kind of stuff. They pay for their riding gear, they pay for their insurance, a year's worth of fuel, a plan for the bike if something goes wrong with the bike. Scott with Ruck It Up for Warriors, he does ruck marches and donates money. He just actually sent a veteran to Rocco Vargas's men's retreat to help with mental health and that kind of stuff. Irreverent Warriors Nebraska, they do their Silky hike every year. They're out in the community with the volleyball tournament, that kind of stuff. Deuce Outfitters Ministry, they do hunting and fishing. They're actually adding an equine therapy program right now out in western Nebraska, and it's an amazing property that they're picking up out there.
Because when people think Nebraska, I mean, first of all, people in the Northeast, I'm not from the Northeast, I moved up here. They don't even know where Nebraska is. I'm just
Yep.
telling you, people in Massachusetts have no idea where Nebraska is. Then if
Yep.
you're lucky, they might know who the Cornhuskers are, and
Right.
then the third thing they'll tell you, well, it's just a flat piece of ground that's, nothing. I'm
Right.
like, it's
Right.
so much more than that. So it's
Yep.
it's it's really amazing to hear that, veterans are supported in that state the way they are.
Yeah. We have a huge resource here for veterans. And like I said, now we're starting to see those veteran nonprofits starting to open their arms to the first responder world too. And saying, I don't care if you're a police officer, if you're a firefighter, EMT, corrections, we're going on a hike. Let's go. Come
So
join us. Come be part of us.
so let me get serious here for a second, because there's some in the veterans community who are like, you know what? We respect the first responders and the law enforcement officers, so on and so forth, right? But they're in their lane and we're in our lane.
Yep.
But there is a school of thought that says, you know what, we both have the same kind of challenges. They
Yep.
just live it, every day, as their career, and we might do it for 4 years, we might do it for 20.
Right.
What really led you to say, you know what? You kind of talked about it, but what led you to say we're going to join together? And what's that done for you?
You know, I have police officers in my family. I have firefighters in my family. They they see as much trauma or more trauma than veterans.
Right.
Veterans have, and I can't say for fact because I'm not a combat veteran, but you go on your deployment, you do 12 months or 18 months in country, you come home and you have time to reset usually, right? You've got some downtime back at home where you're away from it and you're back on our soil and you're not in the middle of the fight. Well, you got police officers and firefighters, EMTs, EMS, doctors, nurses. They're in the mix every day, right? And it's whether they do 10 years, 20, 30, whatever it is, they see this stuff day in and day out. They're the ones running into the burning buildings to save our own people. They're the ones that are, giving that mouth to mouth and trying to save a life after a bad wreck. They deal with that same trauma that we deal with as veterans. They have PTSD, they have that anxiety, that kind of stuff. And it's been really cool and that we could include them. But one of the big things that I found as I was doing this research and I'm looking up all these nonprofits and stuff and inviting people into this, there is nothing or very, very little out there in the way of nonprofits for police, for fire, for EMS, EMTs.
Really?
It's very, very minimal. You've got a few groups. There's the blue something out of Omaha that they ride. They're police officers. It's in a motorcycle group. But outside of that, it's very, very minimal. And we actually worked a stop for the CVMA, the local CVMA here, and they were doing a poker run. And a guy comes walking in, and he's a firefighter, and he kind of pulls me off to the side, and we start this conversation. And he's like, 2 years ago, I was laying in my bathtub with a 45 loaded on the side of the tub, and luckily, one of his buddies ended up kicking down his door and breaking into his house because he wasn't answering his phone. He shut it off. And he goes, if he'd have showed up 2 minutes later, he'd have walked into a bloodbath. I mean, he goes, I was at that point, and he goes, but I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't talk about it because as soon as I talked about it, it made me inserviceable. They would take me off the rig. They would make me take time off. Well, then I may not have a job. So they're stuck in that where you can't even talk about it, or you may not be employed the next day.
So I've had police officers on Oscar Mike Radio, and I've talked, several former Marine Corps, battery mates who went into law enforcement said the same thing. So that to raise their hand and ask for help meant you're getting booted.
Yep. Yeah, you go to desk duty, or you just don't have a job because you can't handle the job that you're supposed to do.
They think you're a risk. They don't know what you're going to do, so it's just easier to retire you.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So let's just say, I have a nonprofit. A nonprofit says, you know what, I watched this with Travis and Jason, and Jason's rocking the beard. I want to, shake his hand. How do I, as a nonprofit, approach you to be part of HeroStock? What's your requirements?
The big thing is like this year we vetted the best that we could. As we go forward, we're going to vet even harder. I didn't think we'd have the response that we had. 49, 50 vendors that are coming in, 2,000 to 5,000 people from the 100 that we had last year.
What?
And this thing has just completely exploded. So from here on out, I'll have them email me. We'll check out their website. We'll look at their financials, make sure that there's nothing funny with that. We may even talk to some of their members and just say, hey, how does this run? Is this a good organization? That kind of thing, to really get a feel for what they are and what they do, because there's a lot out there that will talk the talk, but they won't walk the walk. And we want to make sure that everybody that comes to HeroStock is legit. We had a nonprofit locally that it exploded, and it really hurt a lot of the veterans that were part of it. And, so I never want to be that guy that puts somebody in that situation where, they're in a darker place after the organization than they were before.
Yeah.
So reach out, it's jason.herostock@gmail.com. You can reach out to me through that. My cell phone number is 402-304-7059. You can reach out that way. I want to hear from these nonprofits. And as we start building this, next year we're looking at Michigan, Nashville, Rolla, Missouri, and then 2 locations in Nebraska. So as we start building this, we're going to be reaching out to those nonprofits in those areas and saying, hey, we're coming down to your area. Send us your information. We'd love to have you along, but we're going to vet you first.
Well, I'll close with this. I had a politician in Massachusetts tell me this, Jason. She's an ardent supporter of veterans. And she's like, I know that veterans are maybe 3%, 1% or 3% of the population. But she's like, if we got 3% of Americans to band together to demand change and support each other, it would people would notice.
Yep.
Overnight.
Yep.
And maybe it's things like HeroStock that's going to start getting us there than waiting for somebody above us to do it for us. I think that's why I really was drawn to this. I'm like, this organization, this group, this guy is doing naturally what people pay a lot of money to join an organization to do every year and don't really see anything with it.
Sure. Yeah. And we want to be that movement, right?
Yeah.
We want to be that change. We want to be that piece that brings everybody together for that change. And like I said, the response we've had so far has been just incredible. It's completely blown my mind.
Jason, if you were a stock going from $100 a share to $2,000 a share in a year,
people would be buying it up,
right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's just crazy, and I'm saying if we get 101, hey, we beat last year. The ultimate goal for us is to find that one person that needs something out of this, whether it's the night out, whether it's a nonprofit to be a part of, whether it's finding a civilian battle buddy, and saving their life. If we can save one, that's where we start. And now we're looking at 2,000 to 5,000, and it's like, phew, that's a big jump.
Huge jump. And what's going to happen next year? And I just want to say this. I told Mike Peterson, look, I'm going to figure out a way to get out there and join in the fun. It's really nice to see this kind of stuff going. So I know you're like full throttle, and I'm full throttle. And look, folks, I'm like, hey, we're going to be at 6 p.m. Friday night, no problem at all. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, and it was 6 p.m. Central Time. My bad. But anyway, he was super Gumby, cool as all get out. I just I really connected with what you're doing, Jason, and hope to meet you soon.
Yeah, man. I'd love to have you out next year. September 13th, 14th is the date already for next year.
I'm going to put my calendar and Outlook right now and make sure that it's blocked.
Awesome.
So I'm there.
And next year is going to be big, so you better be ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Semper Fidelis Marine, it's always good seeing Marines, take the lead in this stuff. That's what we do, Jason.
Yep,
and
100%.
as we say in Hawk, what was your MOS?
I was actually 1833 amphibs.
No kidding. I was a Hawk operator for the surface to air missile system. So as a, we weren't grunts. Well, we all
Right.
are, all right. But
Right. Deep down, we all are.
yeah. Well, Semper Fidelis, man, and all the best, all the success to you, and thank you so much for giving me your time and Semper Fi.
Thanks, brother. Semper Fi.
All right, folks, go to HeroStock.com. I got the link in the show. Yeah, it's HeroStock. Wow, the chat really blew up. I'm sorry, I lost my voice.
Eric Mello is actually coming in from California for the event.
Oh yeah, he's been HeroStock.org, folks.
He's Contagion Effect, so he's actually coming in from California to the event. So
this is awesome. I mean, like how this is nationwide in 1 year, dude.
Yep. Yeah, we've hit 16 states. 16 states coming in. 19 has invited us to come to their state to do this. Like it's just 16, 17 states. I don't even know where we're at anymore. It's grown so fast. Appreciate everybody that's followed, liked, and shared. If you haven't yet, hit the page. Hit us up. Find us.
Oh yeah, my last thing tonight, folks, is to put this into the HeroStock. Make sure I get this right. Yep. I do want to put this in the chat.
Yeah, we got Brian Roof coming in from Southern California with Every Day is a Saturday. We've got Eric Mello coming in with Contagion Effect. Tom's coming in from Arkansas. We've just got out of the woodwork. People are starting to jump on this. So
all those guys, man, Eric's great. Mike Peterson is awesome. And
Mike's coming in.
I just love it. Oh, thanks, Eric. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to let you get to it, my man. And tell you what, we'll chat after HeroStock, and I've got it on my calendar.
Awesome, man. Sounds great.
Take care.
Thanks, bro.